And welcome back to Hannity. Now, although the world is focusing on the ISIS terror network in Iraq and Syria, we must point out that the rise of radical Islam is not just confined to the Middle East. Now, my next guest, a controversial Muslim cleric in London, has advocated for Britain to become an Islamic state and follow Sharia law. Now, last week, Imam Anjem Choudary tweeted, "Whatever Prime Minister David Cameron and Home Secretary Theresa may do, they cannot stop the rise of the awakening giant called the Muslim Ummah. Sharia will one day be the law in the UK." And that's not all. The main suspect in the beheading of U.S. journalist James Foley was reportedly radicalized by Chowdary's followers. To explain himself in a Hannity exclusive is Imam Anjem Choudary. You have blamed the killing of this photojournalist on America. Now, whatever military reaction that we had in Mosul and the surrounding areas was in reaction to ISIS demanding convert to Islam or die. Do you support ISIS demanding that Christians, the Yazidis, convert to Islam or die? Do you support that?
Well, there's two questions here. One about what the Islamic State are actually asking the non-Muslims to do and how this particular incident began. In fact, I seem to remember people were shocked and awed over 10 years ago when the Americans carpet bombed this area and killed hundreds of thousands of people.
I ask you a simple question.
We have Abu
do
Ghraib.
you support, hang
well,
on
I'm talking about,
do you
I'm
support convert to Islam
I'll
or
answer
die?
it the way I want to answer it.
Well, answer the question.
The way I want to answer it. The fact is, well, I'm answering it. Allow me to. The fact is that this has a precursor. Every cause has an effect. If the Americans bomb and murder hundreds of thousands of people and they torture people and they continue to do so in Guantanamo Bay, obviously this will have repercussions. I think it was your own master, George Bush, who said, either you're with us or with the terrorists. And, you know, we're not with America, definitely, so we must be with the terrorists. I think that
so you're with the terrorists.
Isolated
do you,
most of the
now
world.
You can answer my question. Do you support ISIS telling Christians, the Yazidis, in Mosul, northern Iraq, that they must convert to Islam, pay a tax, or die? What do you think of that?
This is simply false. It didn't happen. The fact is that the Muslims in the Islamic State, well, allow me to answer the question.
Happened.
The Muslims in the Islamic State, the Muslims in this,
they've been chased out of their homes. Obviously, you need an education.
And then I'll answer the question when you finish.
Let me educate you, because obviously you're pretty ignorant. But we have video of children that have been beheaded, like this photojournalist, women and children with their heads placed on a stick after they've been beheaded, and we have one report after another of people who have been killed, chased out of their homes. They're in the Sinjar Mountains. The world is dropping food to support them and to protect them from radical friends of yours that you obviously support. And I'm just asking, do you support the concept of an Islamic caliphate of either convert or die? Do you support that? It's a simple question. Why don't you just tell the truth what you believe?
Can I answer the question without interruption, or you want to ask another question?
Come on, go ahead. Do you support convert or die?
What you're talking about is complete falsehood. First of all, the Yazidis, whoever went to the mountain even before the Islamic State came to their area. First of all, they said there were 40,000. Then they said there were 20,000. Then they went down. Eventually, they said there were a couple of hundred, and they were living in the mountains anyway, in villages. So this was a complete pack of lies in order to demonize and vilify the Islamic State. And by the way, there's nothing called ISIS anymore. There's a Khalifa. Secondly, the Christians are actually queuing up to come back into Mosul because they realize that life under the Sharia is much better than the Nouri al-Maliki regime, which the Americans propped up and who was murdering and torturing the people in the region.
Okay,
remember,
let me ask you now.
About Abu Ghraib, and we haven't
you're rewriting your own history.
Wait a second.
You're not being honest. You're wasting our time.
Let me educate you now.
You're not honest.
The fact is
that your show, and I'll be a guest on your show.
Tortured people for over 10 years in Guantanamo Bay. They are still there. Let me ask you a question.
They're called terrorists.
Would you prefer to be killed in a swift manner, or would you prefer to be tortured for 10 years,
I would take you,
ritually and sexually abused?
I would take you, and I would take all your friends, and I would take the guy that beheaded this photojournalist. I'm giving you an answer.
You prefer waterboarding?
I'd give you an answer. I'll say it in your mosque.
Sexual abuse, or would you prefer death? Which one would you prefer?
Listen closely to the answer.
What about Sister Afia Siddiqui?
If you shut up, I'll give you an answer. Listen.
Let's talk about Abdurrahman.
I would take every terrorist like you.
What about your drones? How many people have you beheaded with your drones and your vacuum bombs and your daisy cutters? The only weapons of mass destruction which you found in Iraq were the ones you dropped yourself.
Here's what's eventually going to happen. Eventually the world's going to wake up to what I would say. And every radical Islamist like you will be wiped off the face of the earth because you have no respect for women. You have no respect for people of other faiths. You have no respect for innocent human life. You are radical and you want your religion or no religion. Let me ask you some questions about Sharia. Let me ask you questions. Let me ask you about questions about Sharia, which you want to implement. Do you think women, what do you think about women that don't want to cover themselves? Should they be allowed? What would the punishment be if you don't want to cover women under Sharia in Great Britain if you had your way?
Well, I'll tell you something. We don't exploit them for pornography in the fashion and, well, let me answer the question. We don't exploit them through pornography, the fashion and cosmetics industry. Women are not slabs of meat in Islam. They are honored. They are our mothers, our sisters.
And if a woman doesn't want to wear a burqa or a covering, what would the punishment be?
Wait a second. Let me answer the question.
No,
you're not interested in the truth. You're interested in your own voice.
Well, I'm asking, what should the punishment be? Are you that dumb and ignorant? Answer it. Both what would the punishment
Muslim and non-Muslim women will cover themselves. They don't walk around naked like your own mothers and your sisters.
And if they don't cover themselves, what would the punishment be?
They are honored in Islam. They are honored in Islam.
Okay. Now, let me ask you this. If a woman is raped, if a woman is raped under Sharia, there is, in some countries, there is a need for 4 male eyewitnesses for that rape. Do you agree with that?
No, this is nonsense. This is nonsense. They don't implement the Sharia in Saudi Arabia or in Iran.
Okay. In Iran, women can't be.
The man would be punished.
And what about women that commit adultery? Should women be stoned to death if they commit adultery?
Both men and women, if there are witnesses,
they should be.
If they are self-confession, of course they will be punished.
What about gay people? Should gay people be stoned to death? Should gay people be stoned to death?
Well, you know, homosexuality and bestiality and pedophilia and these things, I think they are your own way of life. I believe in 28 states.
Should they be stoned to death? I'm asking.
Bestiality is legal in America. You can have a relationship with just about whoever you want. In Islam, Allah created Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve.
Should gay people be stoned to death?
Relationship between man and woman.
Should gay people be stoned to death?
Under the Islamic State, people will not be doing this relationship in the public arena. If they do, then there will be punishment, of course.
How about in Saudi Arabia, women can't drive and women can't be seen in public without men that they're related to under Sharia? Do you agree with that?
Well, you know, I believe that women, you know, they have a permit to drive if they want to, but at the end of the day, the Khalifa, the head of the Islamic State, will make a choice. Well, hang about. You're not interested in the truth. You keep interrupting.
No freedom.
Look, in Saudi Arabia, they're not implementing the Sharia, by the way, okay? Let's get out of cloud cuckoo land. They're implementing it where? In Iraq and Syria, okay? So let's talk about that. Iran isn't implementing the Sharia. Your friend Bashar al-Assad, who you want to support now, who killed over 200,000 people, is not implementing the Sharia.
All right, let me ask you this. Last question.
Policies. The shock and awe tactics,
the Quran, which you love so much, the Quran says that you should take neither Christians nor Jews for your friends. It talks about infidels, and it talks about jihad and holy war. What does that mean to you? I'm a Christian. Are you, as a Muslim, not allowed to be friends with me? Because the Quran says you can't be friends with me?
Let me tell you something.
And what do you think about Jewish people?
Christians and Muslims? Okay, let's have another interruption, shall we? Or do you want to answer the question? This is the height of ignorance. You're not interested in the answer.
I don't care what you do.
You're interested in your own voice.
You don't impress me.
Maybe you will learn something if you listen.
I listen.
Maybe you will learn
something. But you don't answer questions, so I got to make it simple so that they can get through your thick head.
Shut up for a minute and listen to the answer.
I'm asking a very simple question.
Shut up for a minute and listen.
Answer the question.
I'm going to answer you. I'm going to answer you.
Finally.
Let me tell you something. In the heart of Europe, for over 800 years, Muslims, Jews, Christians live side by side. Their life, their wealth protected. I believe in a society where we can live together. Unlike the Jews who are bombing Muslims in Palestine. Unlike the Hindus who are bombing Muslims in Kashmir. Unlike your friends, the Nusayris, who are bombing people in Syria. We believe in a society where we can live together.
You do.
Our life, our honor, our wealth,
and what about
Hamas?
What about Hamas 4,000 rockets into Israel? Do you condemn that? What about Hamas's charter that calls for obliteration of Israel?
By the Jews. Hang about. I believe your own channel said that 2,000 people being slaughtered is self-defense. Is that what you believe?
No, what I believe is,
Sean?
If you bomb me with one rocket, I'm going to bomb you with 1,000.
Is that self-defense?
Absolutely, it's self-defense. Israel is defending itself.
That's fine, is it?
100%.
Of course they're defending itself.
But you know what?
If that's not
you have made a living off being very clever in your own way.
When you live in America,
but you support radical Islamists.
The rest of the world think you're crazy.
You support the caliphate.
Think you're crazy.
You support Hamas, Hezbollah, ISIS, ISIL. You support Al-Qaeda.
Yeah.
You once said about 9/11, you were very clear that you are on Team Bin Laden, not Team Obama. So you supported what happened on 9/11, and you said it was a good thing. So I know where you're coming from. I just want America to have an opportunity to see you for who you are. You are the enemy of free people. You are the enemy of free people. You support evil and death and demise of innocent people. And you support murder and terror. So that makes you an enemy of freedom.
We can talk over each other. We can talk over each other.
And I don't want your Sharia law, and neither does anybody in Great Britain that has a brain.
You will have no choice, in fact, Sean. It's coming to a place near you. It's coming to a place near you.
So you're threatening to come and get me, is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that the Sharia will be implemented in the whole world one day.
So that's what you want. You want that. Thank you. You answered my question. You want a worldwide Islamic caliphate.
Of course we do.
You want a worldwide Islamic caliphate.
Alhamdulillah.
And you want Islam to rule the world.
This has been promised by the Messenger Muhammad.
And infidels should be destroyed and done with. Infidels, goodbye.
You will be liberated from the shackles of man-made law. Let me tell you something.
I don't need to be liberated by Islam. I'm a Christian. I don't want your religion. I don't want Sharia.
Your society is
I believe in women's rights.
With drugs,
I believe in freedom.
With prostitution, with gambling, with usury.
We don't
need this.
Listen, your version of morality is cutting people's heads off you don't agree with. I'll take the imperfections of freedom as they are, but I don't chop little kids' heads off. I don't chop a photojournalist's heads off and say that that's a good thing and that's a way to pay back people that you disagree with.
Have the Jews who occupy
You support murder. You support terror. You supported Bin Laden.
Which is self-defense.
You support evil, and I don't.
In your world, killing children in Gaza is self-defense, isn't it?
See you later. And up next, Senator John McCain is here to respond to Choudary. Plus, I'll ask him how Senate Republicans intend to stop Obama's imperial presidency as we continue.
As Buck was saying, it's easily accessible, of course, a truck. There's virtually no way to stop it. You can't put stanchions on every public event. The Islamic State has evolved. It doesn't need bombs. It doesn't need explosives. It doesn't need guns. It can create mass casualties with vehicles.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Breaking news out of Berlin, Germany. It is nighttime there, Monday evening. A thriving, hustling, bustling Christmas market, and you now have reports of an individual, we don't know who he is, who plowed his truck into this Christmas market full of people on this Monday evening. According to Berlin police now, they are saying at least 9 people have been killed, at least 50 people have been injured. We have Fred Pleitgen. We also have Bob Baer. Guys, do we have Fred? Okay, that was a yes. So actually, and we also have Buck Sexton, who's former CIA counterterrorism. But Fred Pleitgen, to you, since you live all of a couple of miles away, have you arrived on the scene yet? Tell me what's happened.
Yeah, hey, Brooke. I just arrived on the scene a couple of minutes ago, and I mean the whole place is jam-packed with ambulances, fire trucks, and police vehicles. I mean, I've counted at least 20 ambulances on the scene here, and I've dealt with the German fire department, the German police in the past, and by the signals they're giving, they've determined that this is a mass casualty event, and you can see that by the different agencies that are coming in here as well. There's also a lot of bystanders, obviously very worried bystanders, who are now being pushed behind the police line. There's an ambulance passing right now. There's a whole lot of bystanders that have been pushed back behind the police line, and yeah, I mean, it's just a gigantic operation that the police have put in place here. And, from what eyewitnesses have been telling us, they say that this happened around 8 p.m. local time, so about an hour and a half ago, and that this truck just simply plowed into this Christmas market. In fact, I'm right now standing on the street that they believe that the truck was coming from as it plowed into that market at around 40 miles an hour. Eyewitnesses saying it did not make any sort of effort to slow down or to brake, and then just went through several of those market stalls and obviously hit a bunch of people as it went in. That now, the police saying 9 killed, 50 wounded, and judging by this response, I can believe that would certainly be the case.
Well, here's my question, Fred. Is the truck still sitting there, or did he just plow through these people and leave? And do we know anything about the driver?
I'm not seeing the truck from my vantage point. I believe that it stopped. I'm not sure whether the driver is in custody or not. I'm going to try and get an update from the police in a couple of minutes. They set up sort of a press point here because obviously a lot of the officers that are here are very busy at this point in time. There's another 4 or 5 police vehicles now moving into the zone. So that's really unclear whether the drivers have been apprehended. However, judging by the fact that the German authorities now believe that this is a terror-related incident, I would assume that they have a man in custody and that he is being questioned. But I can't confirm that yet. I'll try and do that as soon as possible. But certainly,
hang on. Did you just say Berlin authorities do believe this is a terror-related incident, or
from what I'm hearing, they believe that it is.
Okay.
And that would lead me to believe that they would have someone in custody. But it's unclear whether that's the case. I'd have to confirm that. But judging from what I've been hearing, they do believe that this is most likely terror-related.
Okay, Fred, thank you. Fred Pleitgen there on the scene in Berlin. Again, Bob Baer, CNN intelligence security analyst, former CIA operative. Buck Sexton here, former CIA counterterrorism analyst. I just want to be crystal clear because I'm not seeing anything in my email saying CNN has confirmed. Guys, let me know whether or not this is indeed being called a terror attack. But Bob Baer, what are the questions you'd be asking about what's happening, what we're watching?
Well, I would think this would be a copy of the Nice attack. There's been an emotional jolt through the Sunni Muslim community throughout Europe because of the fall of Aleppo. A lot of people sympathize, a lot of Muslims sympathize with the carnage that has gone on there. And I think you can connect, at least I can, the murder of the Russian ambassador in Ankara. And I'd also like to say this has been long anticipated, another attack like this, a Nice-like attack. First time in Germany, mass casualties. But if indeed this is terrorism, I think Europe's in for more of it.
Buck, what do you think?
Yeah, at this point, when you look at the indicators and the probability, it certainly points towards a terrorist attack. We can't be certain, but no. Bob pointed out the similarities with Nice. Here we have, there have already been photos of it posted online. You have a truck that seems to have been used in this, again, attack. There's the remote possibility that it was something other than that. You also look at the target set. It's just before Christmas, a Christmas market. The number of people that were injured and at least 9 killed, that number looks like it'll probably go higher. The probability that this was some kind of horrific accident is infinitesimally small. It looks like it fits in with all the criteria you would expect for a jihadist attack, similar to what we saw in Nice, which was, from the jihadist perspective, a very successful mass casualty attack on a French national holiday, mostly using a truck. I know there are also weapons involved there.
There were weapons involved there, and now it appears. I mean, it is different in the sense that there, apparently, I'm not hearing any reports of shots. It sounds like this individual, and we know nothing about this individual, or if this person has even been caught, drove up, going who knows how fast into this crowd of revelers. One
of the lessons of the Nice attack, from the terrorist perspective, from the jihadists, those who might want to be acting out now, specifically, as Bob mentioned, because of what's happening in Aleppo or for any number of other grievances, real and imagined, is they may have recognized that the vehicle is the most important component in this process. All you need is a big vehicle that gets enough speed, enough momentum behind it, and a target set full of people that are innocent civilians. So that would all line up. The absence of weapons or gunfire, I wouldn't view it as something that makes it less likely to be terror. It may just be they realize that all you in fact need is the vehicle, looking very likely that this was a jihadist attack given all the indicators we have.
Bob, I mean, I remember being in Nice and talking to some of our terror analysts who were saying this is what ISIS was essentially saying to followers, that this MO of using a car as a weapon. Am I correct?
Oh, absolutely. It's as Buck was saying, it's easily accessible. Of course, a truck. There's virtually no way to stop it. You can't put stanchions on every public event. The Islamic State has evolved. It doesn't need bombs. It doesn't need explosives. It doesn't need guns. It can create mass casualties with vehicles. And, Europe right now is at a loss what to do about this, because they can't control what's happening in Aleppo. And even though Germany has nothing to do with Aleppo, the Islamic State paints the West as a single front, and that it's permissible to kill civilians, and especially on a symbolic holiday and a Christmas market like this.
Have there been any attacks, not necessarily with a car used as a weapon, Bob, but within Germany? I mean, I remember there was a mass casualty event. I'm not quite sure if it was terror-related or not some months ago that we covered live, but this would be the first?
This would be the first. I mean, there has been attacks in Germany on the train with an Afghan, on a coffee house, and the rest of it. But This is the first time the Germans have, this is a copy in a way of Brussels and the Nice attack, or even the Paris attacks. And I think as the police get better and they start rolling these networks up, what you see in more and more are probably people inspired by the violence in the Middle East, inspired by the Islamic State, without actually making contact. We're going to find out. Of course, if this was a terrorism attack, the German police are saying it, but let's wait to see. We could revise this next hour or so.
Yeah. 9 dead, at least 50 injured there at a busy Christmas market there on a Monday evening in Berlin. Buck and Bob, thank you. We'll keep a close eye on what's happening there. Also ahead, we're watching